My first oil painting instructor once said there are no rules in oil painting, but there is cause and effect. And that completely changed how I looked at painting because what he meant was this. There's not one correct way to paint something, but there are decisions you can make that will affect how the viewer experiences the painting. If you make something cooler, it pushes back in space. If you make something warmer, it tends to come forward. If you soften an edge, it loses attention. If you sharpen an edge, it grabs attention. If you simplify something, it can create clarity. If you over detail everything, the viewer doesn't know where to look. That's cause and effect. I think one of the biggest things that separates beginner painters from more advanced painters is understanding this. The reference photo is not the painting. The reference photo is just raw material. And if you rely completely on the reference photo to make every decision for you, you might be able to make decent paintings, but you're going to severely limit yourself. You're never really going to be able to design paintings. You're just going to be copying information. And the painters who make truly great paintings are usually not copying the reference exactly. They're interpreting it through their understanding of the fundamentals. So I want to walk you through this duck painting and show you exactly what I mean. Because this painting is a good example of making decisions not solely based on what you see in the photo, but based on my understanding of the fundamentals. That's composition, drawing, color, value, and edges. All right, if you're new to the channel, then welcome to Paint Coach. My name's Chris Fornatero. I teach oil painting and I'm here to help you get better faster. So right from the beginning, before I even start painting, I'm already making decisions based on the fundamentals. The original reference photo wasn't cropped this tightly. I chose this crop. Why? Because compositionally, I like the relationship between these three ducks. One, I like odd numbers and compositions. It keeps it, dynamic. But more importantly, I like that two ducks are grouped together in the foreground, and then there's one duck further in the distance. That's going to help me create depth. If all these ducks were lined up on the same plane and all the same distance away from us, the painting would feel flatter and less interesting. So right away, before I've even touched paint, I'm already using composition to create a better image than the original reference. And this is what I mean when I say you have to stop relying completely on the reference. Because the camera doesn't necessarily know what makes a good painting. The camera just records information. You, as the artist, have to organize that information. And actually, I want to point out something early on that I didn't do well, because I think it's important. When I first blocked this painting in, I basically divided the canvas almost perfectly into half dark and half light. And compositionally, that's not usually a good idea. It creates a kind of boring split. It's static, not very dynamic, not very interesting. And I eventually fixed that later on in the painting, but I wanted to point it out because this is exactly what I mean by cause and effect. There's an effect to dividing your canvas perfectly in half. It tends to feel less pleasing, less designed, less intentional. It's going to grab your attention in a negative way if things are perfectly symmetrical. And you see, once you understand things like this, you can start making better decisions, not because you're told a rigid rule, but because you understand the effect those decisions create. Another thing I'm thinking about immediately is the paint thickness. You'll notice at the beginning that the shadows are painted very thin, very transparent, and that's intentional. There's this old idea in oil painting that your shadows should feel thin and your light should feel thick. You almost want to feel like you could reach through the shadows, and then the light areas sit physically thicker on top. It creates a great tactile quality in the oil painting. Again, cause and effect. Thin paint in the shadows creates a certain feeling. Thick paint in the light creates another feeling. And understanding those relationships gives you control. Now, as I paint this duck in the background, I'm making another very intentional decision. This duck is not the focal point, so I purposely paint it loose. Not a lot of detail, not a lot of sharp edges, because I want it to sit back there quietly. I don't want it competing with the main duck. And this is one of the biggest mistakes beginners make. They give everything equal attention, equal detail, equal sharpness, and when everything is important, nothing is important. So instead, I'm controlling where the viewer looks, and I'm doing that through edges and detail. Again, cause and effect. Sharper edges attract attention, more detail attracts attention. So if I want something to sit back in space, I simplify it. Another thing you'll notice is that I keep changing the color of the grass in the distance. And the reason is because I'm trying to push depth. I know cooler colors tend to recede, warmer colors tend to come forward. So even if I don't necessarily see the exact color in the reference, I might still choose to cool the distance down more because I understand the effect that creates. And you'll actually see me experimenting with it throughout the painting. I'll cool it down, warm it up, adjust saturation, push it one direction, then another. I'm searching for the relationship that creates the strongest sense of depth. That's painting, that's interpretation, that's not copying. And this is why understanding color temperature is very important. Because if you understand what warm and cool colors do, you can use them intentionally. All right, before we move on, I just want to let you know, if you want to see the full version of this painting tutorial along with literally hundreds of others, they're all available inside Paint Coach Studio. I put out a new tutorial every single week. There's a private Facebook group where you can post your paintings and interact with other like-minded painters that are learning just like you. And you can try it free for 7 days. If you want to check it out, I'll put a link to it in the description of this video. Now, when I start painting the main duck, there's another important thing happening. You can kind of see it in the reference, but not clearly. I know that green grass is reflecting up into the underside of the duck. Why? Because the duck is white and white surfaces reflect a lot of light. And I've painted enough from life that I know what the photo is leaving out. So even if the reference photo doesn't clearly show all that reflected green light, I understand enough about light to know it's there. And I can push it further in the painting. That reflected green helps give the duck volume. It helps create color variation. It makes the painting feel richer and more believable. I talk about this in other videos, but I think of it almost like understanding the light code. Meaning, if you understand how light behaves, you can solve problems even when the reference photo isn't ideal. This photo isn't perfect, the ducks are heavily backlit, but I understand that even inside the shadow areas, there is still light information happening. Those shadows are not just black holes. There's reflected light coming from the grass. There's cool skylight coming from above. So areas of the duck that face upward are going to catch cooler bluish light from the sky. Areas facing downward might catch warmer reflected light from the grass. That understanding lets me invent information intelligently. And this is such a huge leap as a painter because eventually you stop asking, what color is this? And you start asking, what should be happening here? That's a completely different mindset. Another thing I am constantly thinking about is guiding the viewer's eye through the painting. You'll see me changing the dappled light in the background over and over again. I'm experimenting, trying different shapes, different sizes, different placement, because I don't want repetitive patterns. I want rhythm, I want movement, I want enough interest back there to support the painting, but not so much that it steals attention from the ducks. And honestly, a huge part of painting is just being willing to experiment, try things, step back, take a look at it, adjust it, try it again. That's why you'll see me constantly stepping back from the easel. Because when you step back, you stop seeing brushstrokes and you start seeing the actual visual effect. And I'm constantly running through the fundamentals in my head. Can I improve the values? Can I simplify the shapes? Can I create more depth? Can I push warm or cool relationships more? Can I make the composition stronger? That's the thought process. One thing I ended up really liking in this painting was introducing more warm reddish dirt in the foreground. That wasn't really about copying the reference. It was about creating a stronger painting. The warm foreground shape helps push the foreground forward. It also creates a nice triangular movement shape that subtly guides your eye into the painting. And again, warm foreground, cooler background, cause and effect. I'm constantly leveraging those relationships. And by the end of this painting, what I ended up with is not an exact copy of the reference photo. It's my interpretation of it, my attempt to enhance it, to organize it, to push it further, to make it feel more alive. And the only way you can really do that consistently is through understanding the fundamentals. Drawing, value, color, edges, and composition. Those are the real tools. Those are the levers you can pull. And the more deeply you understand them, the more freedom you gain as a painter, because eventually you stop depending entirely on the reference photo. You stop needing the reference to spoon feed you every answer, and suddenly you can take references that most people would completely overlook and see a painting hidden inside them. That's when painting becomes really exciting, because now you're not just copying, you are creating. And I really think that's one of the biggest mindset shifts that separates people who are learning to paint from people who are truly becoming artists.